image design, we're going to work on our Unit 15 project, or our practice for the project, working with reflections. So we're going to take a landscape and then reflect it, make it look like it's in water. All right, first step for this, we need to open up the image that we will be editing. So open your Unit 15 folder for image design. And open the desert.jpg image. That's what we'll be practicing with. It should look like this. Let's set up our layers just to get a start. The desert.jpg layer will be renamed to landscape. And then duplicate the layer, make a copy of it by right-clicking on it, duplicate layer, and name the copy reflection. Then move this layer underneath landscape. So you have two of the same thing. All right. We need to select the area that is going to be reflected and turning into water. So grab the landscape layer and the free select lasso tool, and then find kind of a section where your lines divide into the different areas. So we've got the sky, which is the background, the mountains and these cactuses and these bushes as the middle ground, and then kind of the sandy area with these bushes as the foreground. So click off of the edge, and for the top, kind of go along that seam and go underneath these bushes, because we want to make it a little bit rough looking, just like the edge of a shore would be. So once you've got that, go down all the way around the bottom and the edges, and then back to the beginning and press enter on your keyboard. So we should have nice smooth edges over here, and then the top should be a little bit uneven. Once you've got that selected, we're going to turn this into a mask. So layer, mask, add layer mask. For this part, set it to selection. And this part is new. Set the invert mask checkbox. So we're going to do the opposite of what we normally do. And then click add. You'll know you did it right if the sky is white and the ground is black. Okay, so now we need to flip around our reflection layer. So before we do that, select none, clear that selection, select your reflection layer, and then under the layer menu, transform, flip vertically, so it'll flip it upside down. All right, so it's flipped upside down, but it's not quite placed correctly, so we need to move it around. And you can use your move tool, but don't just grab willy-nilly. Instead, click on the layer and then hold shift on your keyboard and use the down arrow to start moving it down to where it should go. So like so. If you went too far down, you can always click up on your keyboard to do the opposite. If you need a little bit more precision, you can release the shift button and then just use the arrow keys. And what I want you to kind of do is to figure out, okay, so I've got my bush right here. Where would the top of that be in the reflection? So maybe somewhere like right here. Or I'm actually looking over here at this tree too. So where would the base be behind this bush? Okay, so that feels about right. We've got that reflection in. So I've got the reflection. It's flipped around. It's placed correctly. Now we want to make the water look a little bit more watery. So create a new layer and name this one Blue Water. Grab your bucket tool and choose a blue color that makes sense. So here I'm in the desert. The water is not going to be like, you know, a Caribbean blue. It's going to be a little bit grayer, maybe a little muddier. So I'm going to kind of choose something maybe around here. And then fill in this whole layer with that blue color. Once you've done that, over here in your layers panel, move the opacity slider down to about 25%. So about 25. So here it's still a little bit blue, but it's not overwhelming. And you can see through it to see the reflection underneath. All right, so we've got our water. It's a little bit bluer. Next, we want to make it kind of ripply. So we're going to use a filter for that one. Click on your reflection layer. Grab your filters menu. And we want distort ripples. So filters, distorts, ripple. And there's a few settings we have. So you can already see that this is really intense. Water is not usually going to be that intense. So let's do some changes. Your amplitude is going to be down around 5. The period should be around 140. The phase shift should be set to 0. The angle should be set to 25. And then the wave type should be sine. Once you've got this sorted out, click OK. And you can see how the ripples are a little more gentle now. So it makes more sense. All right. So we've got the top, we've got the water. Now you need the little bits in between with the shore, because you can see the edges with like my bush and stuff. They look a little bit awkward, so we need to add a shore in. All right. Click the landscape layer and then add a new layer and name this one shore. Then use your brush tool to draw in the shore. The lesson asks you to choose the number 2 hardness 050 brush. If you open your little menu, it's like the 6th one. And the reason it does that is because it sets the hardness to a lower setting and the size is about right. I think the size is actually about 51. Yeah, so it'll be about this big, which is kind of big actually. So you can keep that size, and draw that size, or you can make it smaller. Choose a color that would make sense for the sandy shore. So this is a desert, so the sand is going to be a little bit more gray looking. Let's do a little bit darker than that. And you can always use undo if you need to. There, that works better. I'm going to make mine smaller. And go along the bottom edge of that top reflection. And feel free to make it smaller or larger and clean up your areas as best as you can. And kind of a wavy edging will create a more natural looking effect. All right, so I've got my shore painted in. Let's give it a little bit of texture so it doesn't look quite as fake. Grab your Select by Color tool, click on your shore color, and then add a filter. And we are going to add a noise filter, HSV noise. In your settings, set the dullness up to 3, set the hue to 0, set the saturation up to 100, or I guess it would be 1. And then set the value up to 0.15, and click OK. So it gives a sandy appearance. Select none, and there's your reflection project. So save your work, export a JPEG version, reflection.jpg, and good luck on your project.